Hello, my family. All right, so it is another day, and today I am going to be baking, which is rather late. I've had some things going on today, so I'm actually kind of late to be doing this, but I'm going to be making a low carb bread that I decided to go ahead and work with you on it instead of doing it on my own first. We'll see how this goes. What in the world? Anyways, we will see how this bread works. I'm going to be using this bowl for it, and there won't be a mixer, so if you don't have a mixer, you can easily do this as well. We will see how it turns out. Another thing is, I just got back from doing the farm work, plus I picked some farm fresh kale for supper tonight because I'm going to be making a copycat version of Zuppa Tuscana Olive Garden soup, however low carb, and I'm going to be able to do this recipe in low carb or regular for anybody who wants to do this. You're just going to alternate the ingredients. For example, for potatoes, those who don't have any health restrictions, you can use red potatoes or russet potatoes. For those who have restrictions, and sadly these are not farm raised, but we are going to be using turnips in place of our potatoes. So I'm going to show you how to make this soup, do this bread. I was going to go ahead and string up our tomatoes. It looks like I've got, thank you Lord, one more day before a good storm comes in on Friday. I really have to get the rest of these tomatoes strung up. So, and I may decide to do these and show you how I'm doing this in our greenhouse. There's only a few left, so in between the cooking, I may be out here in the garden stringing them up as well, just to make sure that they're going to be safe against all storms. So we'll see how things go. First, we're going to work with our bread, and then we'll move to the soup. So the bread's going to have two chances of sitting for 30 minutes. It's going to have a 1 hour proof and a 1 hour rise. So we're going to start with this bread first. I'm going to set everything up and we will begin. Okay, y'all, so this recipe is from Keto Certs. Should this work out, we will go ahead, and even if it don't, I mean, somebody else may like it if I don't. So I'm going to link this in the description below, and I will link you to her channel to this recipe. So in the meantime, I need to fix up the yeast part of this. So we're going to need 30 milliliters of warm water, a teaspoon of honey, which, mind you, this will not be consumed by my husband. This will actually be consumed by the yeast itself. So we need a teaspoon of honey. And then we need 2 teaspoons of instant dry yeast. Let me get this rinsed out. Once we mix this together, this will then be set aside while we mix our dry ingredients together. Mix this together and then set this aside for about 10 minutes for it to bloom. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside and get this out of my way. Then we'll go ahead and start putting our other ingredients into our bowl. Sorry for cutting in front of y'all like this. Small spaces, y'all, small spaces. So in our bowl, we are going to be adding 120 grams of vital wheat gluten, 30 grams of coconut flour, 16 grams of ground flaxseed, 5 grams of psyllium husk powder, 3 tablespoons of sugar substitute, about a teaspoon of salt. I'm using Himalayan. And I'm going to mix all these dry ingredients together really well. All right, now that this is mixed, we're going to wait for just a few minutes while our yeast proofs, and then we will be back to continue on fixing up this mix. We will get it ready and then get it set up for it to sit for 30 minutes. And in the meantime, we will go out to the garden at that point, try to set up our tomatoes while we can, and then come back and be able to, at that point, we will be adding our butter, kneading this, and then setting again for another 30 minutes. So we will be right back. Okay, y'all, so our yeast is pretty much bloomed. So now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients, which would consist of 2 large eggs at room temperature, making sure I didn't put a shell in here. Yeah, not cool. I should know to do this in a bowl like that. I will learn. I will absolutely learn. Give me a minute, y'all. Dang. Okay, so I think that just broke me, especially on camera, which was extremely embarrassing. So let's continue this. So now, after our 2 eggs, I am going to be adding our yeast ingredients into our bowl. And then we have 177 milliliters of warm water. So now we're going to mix this all together really well. Get all our ingredients incorporated and mixed in here. Get these flours absorbing all of this liquid. And this could take a few minutes to do this, so just keep stirring it until it's all incorporated extremely well. You ever have just one of those days, y'all? It seems to be that's what me and hubby are basically having. So we're kind of waiting on something right now. To be honest with you, I'm glad we do what we do. Hubby's job is uncertain at this point. A company had taken over and things are changing drastically and it's not looking good. So we're praying about this situation. And we pray that should this one end, that God has another door opened really soon. So anyways, right now we've got this done here, so everything is mixed really well. We are now going to cover this and let it sit for 30 minutes. In the meantime, we're going to go drape up some tomatoes because we absolutely need to keep them going. So we're going to cover this. I am going to set my timer for 30 minutes. And we are going to go outside and string up some tomatoes. Okay, y'all, so I'm going to try and do this the best I can. What I use here is 100% cotton string. This seems to last longer throughout the season, even when it's really hot here in the south where we're at. And I will take and run my line across the top of this bar, tie it off into a knot, drape it down to the bottom of where my soil base is. I will cut that, and then I ordered these on Amazon. These are the rings. These snap together pretty much, where they snap into place, and at the end of the year they're reusable because they will unsnap. So, and I will place the string within this piece right here in this V shape. It will hold that string in place while that tomato grows. And I'll show you how I set it up. So I'll come down here with my string, run it across the bottom base of my tomato. Depending on how tall it is, I run another line. But these are starting to get up there, so I'm going to go ahead and run another line on top of that. And this will turn around and get my tomatoes strung up. I have some more over here, and I will back this up so that you can see these getting done as well. Okay, you might not see me being able to tie this up here at the top, but these tomatoes as well. We've got a couple. I've done the majority of them, but there were some I just haven't gotten to yet. They weren't actually big enough to do this, and they have grown since then, and I need to get this done before our storm comes in on Friday, I think it is. So it's just really simple. I just come through here, tie these babies up, and it's a straight line string run where the tomatoes will grow at the top of this, and it keeps them in place and easier for me to maintain them. And I have some suckers I see growing that I want pulled off. So now I'm going to run another line toward the back of this one. And it just helps maintain my tomatoes to keep them better conditions than if they were just struggling on their own. So I'm just going to come down here, run that through that part, set up another clip toward the top of it. Take that sucker in the middle off of it. Every time I see them, I try to pull them as quick as I can. I really don't want no suckers on these. However, if you do get some, just so you know, if you do get suckers on your plants, they are pretty big. You can actually pull them suckers off and produce another plant from them. Just let them sit in water, and they will root up again. So, and I've done it before last year, and it was kind of neat. I got multiple plants out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off the rest of these tie-offs. We just have a few left, and then we will go back to the kitchen. Okay, so we'll give you a better look. I tied them off in this garden bed here. Run it straight down in that line, and then I clip them right here to these tomatoes. And so far, this is what this garden is looking like. It's hard to see right now with the sun out, but Our tomatoes are actually growing quite well over here. Some of them are a bit smaller than others, but they're getting there. I am worried about these because it seems like we're getting some unexpected cool weather down into the low 40s. There is no cover. We are not used to this. And by now, this isn't happening this time of year for us. So it has me extremely concerned. So we will see what's going to happen. I'll take you to the peppers. And then here's the rest of the greenhouses. Now these are our peppers. Our beans are coming up. I'm going to have to water these again this evening once the sun goes down. That's our cauliflower. And over here is the rest of our peppers. And then our eggplant. Now these are already starting to put on flowers. I'm concerned that they're hopefully not stunted. I mean, this really has me disturbed. This weather has gotten me to the point I'm so frustrated. I don't know what to do, but I'm going to keep on going, y'all, because we need this. So let's go inside and then we'll finish with the rest of our meal. So it seems like we did pretty good at timing because I came in, gave me time to wash my hands, and we still had 10 minutes still on the bread to go. Now I am going to be skipping a step on this bread because I'm not going to be adding black sesame seeds to it. That is a point where after I add the butter and it rests for 30 minutes, there is a 30-minute resting again after adding sesame seeds. I'm going to totally bypass that and I'm going to eliminate sesame seeds. To me, it's not, you can add it if you want to, but this time I'm going to opt out of it because we want to see what this bread is like. And hubby is not all into seeds and stuff like that as I am. So my next 30 minutes after we add the butter will probably be just assembling the bread and letting it sit for an hour. It's going to be hard enough as it is at that point. So if I'm not mistaken, yeah, we'll be adding our butter, then letting it rest for 30 minutes. Okay, so at the seed point, that will be letting it rest for 1 hour to proof. So we're going to let it rest for 1 hour actually after we add this butter. Because again, I'm not adding the seed. So we're waiting for this 30 minutes to end, and then we will come back, add our butter, and then we are going to let this sit for an hour. So we will be right back. Okay, so our 30 minutes is up, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to knead this inside the bowl. It says you can use this on a board with some flour. I'm just going to go ahead and knead this right here inside this bowl. I'm actually going to add 2 tablespoons of butter to this, and I'm going to knead it inside of this bread mix. I use my hands, y'all, because I like to know what textures feel like, what my breads will feel like, especially when I'm working with new ones like these. So, I mean, so you'll have to forgive me. This kitchen is always and always will be hands-on. So I'm just going to knead this in really well. And like I said, I am not going to be adding sesame seeds to this. So my next step, instead of another 30 minutes after adding sesame seeds, I'm actually going to just let this rise for an hour. And now, since I'm going to avoid that step, we're also at this point going to go ahead and prep for our dinner tonight so it can sit and simmer for quite a while and get those flavors incorporated as well. So the butter is now incorporated quite well into this mix. Now I'm just going to go ahead, put this in here, cover it up, and then I am going to let this sit for 1 hour. Wash my hands right quick. And I currently have bacon started on the stove, as you can see right here. So, and that's towards our dinner. And I started slicing our turnips for our potatoes, and I'll explain something about that in a minute too. In the meantime, I'm going to put this aside right quick and we will be right back. Okay, y'all, so while our bread is setting aside to rise for an hour, I am going to go ahead and prep for tonight's dinner, which is Zuppa Tuscana, the copycat version from Olive Garden soup. Now, with this soup, you can go two ways. Now, I'm going to do this the low carb way. You can add it the original recipe, and I will go along with it. This is where versatility comes in. This is what makes our homestead, to me, pretty great, because we are versatile and we can accommodate most of the time either way. Now, I am doing this the low carb way with my husband tonight, but I could choose if I wanted to make two different meals. There was no sense in it, so I am going to compromise on a few things. One, as I told y'all that, you know, I was maintaining my weight. That wasn't the thing either. It was also, I have to watch my cholesterol. Now here, tonight, I'll just be honest, I am going to be using ground turkey instead of regular Italian sausage. I'm going to cut the fat on this as much as possible. And I'm going to actually take the ground turkey, fry it up, and I'm going to be using my homemade no sugar Italian seasoning mix to make it flavored like Italian seasoning. Now, I don't mind using turkey products. I will even use turkey sausage. I will use turkey smoked sausage. Where I draw the line, I have tried it. I honestly have tried it, and I'm going to tell y'all, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't stand that rubber, fake taste of turkey bacon. So I am putting real bacon inside of this dish. This is where I'm going to compromise, and I will take my fat on this one. I don't care how many times I've tried it, y'all. I've tolerated it, but I just can't do turkey bacon. But I will do turkey ham and turkey sausage and all that stuff. I don't know what it is about the bacon. It's just super fake. So we're going to stick with the real deal on this bacon. I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Then I'm going to switch this pan out because this bacon's going to be just sitting aside. It's for the final piece. And we're doing the prepping on it. So, and then I will be adding the ground turkey in here and cooking it up while we season it for our flavoring. So we will be right back. These are almost finished, and I will be back to working this next steps with you. Okay, I'm trying to bring you in as close as I possibly can to give you a bird's eye view of the inside of our pot. So I am going to, because there is no fat in turkey, ground turkey, or chicken, I am actually going to be adding a couple tablespoons of olive oil to this. This is where I get my good fats in. And then I am going to add my ground turkey to this. Now, for the most part, the original recipe calls for Italian sausage. The reason I am choosing to do it this way is because of the nitrates. My husband cannot handle the nitrates in Italian sausage because they have hidden sugar, and evidently quite a bit of it, because it spikes him, and it spikes him pretty bad. So I am going to actually make my own by using ground turkey. And though it might not be in the sausage form in this dish, it will still work. So I'm just going to throw this in here, get my hands washed up. And then I will be adding my seasonings. I'm hoping, I know you can't see it perfectly. If I had a way to do an overhead, it would be so nice, but unfortunately I don't. So I'm doing the best I can to show you what's going on in here. So I am going to now take our homemade mix, and I believe, I'll have to look back, but I think I gave everybody the recipe as well at one time to this Italian sausage seasoning mix to make your own, and you're eliminating all the nitrates. So I'm going to go ahead, test it out at this point, see if it needs any more. You can do this in a crock pot too if you wanted to. I just really don't see the need in it. I can simmer it on my stove and all of that. So, but this is a meal you can do that if you were using Italian sausage. You just pre-cook it. You pre-cook your bacon, and then just throw all your ingredients in your crock pot, set it on low, and you can leave it cooking all day if you wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and get this finished off, cooked. We're going to test it and then come back for the rest of the ingredients. Okay, y'all, so we're going to now prep our fresh picked kale. Now I have some very tender too. So all I'm going to do is actually pull these stems off of our kale and break this up in pieces, because I'm going to be using this to go in the soup. If I find that I don't have enough kale, basically, I have some store-bought already cut up that I'm going to have to use up as well. But I wanted some of our fresh stuff into our soup tonight. I don't know, it's just something about fresh. So I just take them and pull them off these big old stems, because we do not want these stems. And now the little ones, they're so tender, it doesn't really matter with these. I just pretty much pop them tops off just like so. I kind of try to scrape them just like an umbrella. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. So we're just gonna, like I said, we're pulling these off of here. And then we're gonna cut this up, kind of dice it up into bite-sized pieces, because this will go in later. I'm just prepping it while this meat is cooking at the moment. That one might be, yeah, that one's a little bit too rough. We don't take those. We're just going to go ahead and finish this off. In the meantime, our chicken here is, our turkey actually, is cooking. Now, I'm not making this super ground because I kind of want them in chunks to sort of replicate. They probably won't stay like this as sausage, but if not, it's alright too. It's a protein. I'm not going to complain. It's something that goes in it. I'm not particularly picky. If I was picky, I definitely would not be homesteading. I'll just be honest with you. So I'm just not that type of person. I am more grateful than anything, especially these days. So I'm just going to go ahead, continue cleaning up or picking off the leaves off of our farm-raised kale, and we will be right back. Okay, so we got our ground turkey cut up. I'm going to add just a little bit more seasoning to this. It's got a beautiful flavor. It does taste like sausage, but I am going to enhance it just a bit more. It's on the weak side. So Just going to mix this in here really good. And then I'm going to throw in some of our garlic next. I'm going to be adding some chopped onions. And what I have is 1 pound of the ground turkey. Again, you can use, the original recipe is 1 pound. Now this serves, I'm doing a half a recipe, y'all. And I did forget to tell you. The original recipe would be for the Italian sausages, 1 whole pound of that, with the sausages cut in lengths and pre-cooked. So that would give you quite a bit of meat. That's for anybody who's not doing low carb version. You would use the 1 pound of the Italian sausage. For those like me who are doing the low carb, I am using 1 pound of ground turkey, and then added those seasonings. Or you can opt to do a turkey sausage, a turkey Polish sausage. You can do things like that if you would like. So that was in this. We've got our onions. We have, and that's basically a half for the original recipe. And use your own preference. I'm using a medium onion, so it was a half of a medium onion in here. I've got 2 cloves of garlic in here. This is going to be still quite a bit for me and my husband. About 4 servings, if not more, out of this. So I'm adding this. Cooking this up just a tiny bit. Now I am going to be adding 16 ounces of our home canned turkey stock. The original recipe calls for 28 ounces. So that would be about 14 ounces in half of chicken broth. We're using just a slight little bit more, so I'm just going to add the turkey broth. You can use chicken, your home canned, any of that if you want to. That's totally up to you. It also calls for a quart of water. I am just going to use a pint of water. Again, I am using half for this recipe. I'm going to add my half, or my pint. Now, it calls for russet potatoes. You can use, if you do not have restrictions, you can use 5 medium russet potatoes, or little red potatoes. Any of these things will work. For me, and those of us on the low carb, you can have 2 choices to add to yours. We are taking sliced turnips and adding to this, or you can choose to do cauliflower. Either one will absolutely work in this soup. So like I said, I am doing turnips this time. They will end up basically tasting like a potato, but you can do cauliflower if you want as well. So either one of these will absolutely work. I have about 2, I think I said 2 cloves of garlic in here. I am going to be adding some red pepper flakes to this. The original recipe is about 2 teaspoons. I am going to be using just slightly under a teaspoon. I don't mind spice, but I don't want it too spicy. To me, it just takes away from good flavors if it's too spicy. And then we're going to add some salt and some pepper to this. And this is to taste. My broth was unsalted, so now be careful if you are using store-bought broth, because they do tend to be salty. Now we're just going to mix this together for right now. I'm going to set this aside, or well, we're going to put a lid on this and let this cook until these turnips are nice and tender. And once these are tender, I am actually going to come back and add the rest of our ingredients to this. So let me get this covered. In the meantime, I'm going to show you how I'm going to take care of this kale as well to get it ready for us to use in our dish. So after I strip the leaves on this, I'm actually going to take these and kind of roll them up. Let me see if I can show you how I'm doing this here. I'm actually going to kind of roll these up a bit like this. And I'm going to chop this up into pieces, just like so. This is going to cook down pretty good. So I'm just going to cut it down like this. And these are ready. So that's all you do for this. Or you can opt to get the already pre-cooked or pre-cut kale if you wanted to. I have some of that too. I wanted fresh greens. I'm kind of really missing freshness from the garden and less from kind of mediocre stuff we get from the store. So, and if this isn't enough, I will be using some of that I have in the refrigerator though, because I don't have any more to back this up actually. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish this off and let this cook up, waiting still for that hour on our bread, and we will be back. Okay, so while this is cooking, I took about four to five pieces of bacon, and I diced mine up. Now, I did not cook these completely crispy. You are welcome to cook them crispy if you want to, and then just add it at the very end of the soup as a topping. The reason I didn't cook mine all the way to a crisp is because I like to have that flavor in with my soup. So I am going to take my bits at this point to get that flavor into my soup, and I am going to add it while these are cooking. And then the rest of that bacon will be used for hubby's breakfast tomorrow. So that's what we're going to do with our bacon. In the meantime, we're going to stand still until something is ready. So we'll be right back. Okay, so my turnips are about ready, and I am going to let this sit on this little simmer. So I'm going to bring this down right now. I'm actually, some will wait to the very last minute to add the kale and the heavy cream. I am actually going to be adding our kale to this dish while it's slow cooking. And then I will be adding the heavy cream at the very end, and then taste testing to check for whether it needs more salt and pepper and whatever else. So that's pretty much this recipe. The last part of it is just the adding of the kale, and quite a bit of it. It's going to cook down pretty good. So you want to add enough that it's a good flavor to your soup, and you choose what you want. The recipe actually says you'd want about 2 cups of chopped kale for the 8 servings. I pretty much have that for the half a serving, but we happen to like kale in this soup. So, and if you don't like kale, honestly, you can add turnip greens, collard greens, spinach if you wanted to. You can add actually whatever green you would like, and I'm actually going to because this does cook down pretty quick. I'm actually looking and seeing that I'm going to add some of that stuff from the store-bought. I need to use it up anyway, so I don't mind that. I'll have a mixture between ours and that. So, but again, you can add whatever green you want if you're not a fan of kale. Not everybody is, and I get that. You can even add Swiss chard or bok choy, anything you want to add to this. And then the last, very end of that would be, once you guys are getting ready to serve this, just before you serve it, you will stir it in to heat it through. And that would be adding 1 cup of heavy cream. If you are doing the full version, serves 8. If you are doing half of that, that serves 4, you'd only use a half a cup. This goes for those of us on low carb as well. The only difference between us in the original recipe for those on low carb, you are changing out the potatoes. Everything else is exactly the same, except for, again, now there is one other thing, and I take that back. I apologize, and that would be the Italian sausage. Unless you are able to handle it, by all means add it. But for my husband, the hidden sugar within the nitrates, it gets him every time. So we had to opt out into a different version, and I showed you how to do that and what ideas you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more kale to this, and then I'm going to put the lid on it. And I'm actually going to let that simmer for the rest of the evening until hubby comes home from work. I absolutely do not like my refrigerator. We have rounds every time I turn around. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this. That should be enough. This will cook down, and yes, that'll be plenty in here. And yeah, I figured the meat would cook down, but it's still going to be okay. We still get our protein in here. So I'm just going to cover this now and let this simmer, y'all. And the next one we come back to should be the next process for our bread, for one more rising before our bake. So I'm going to go ahead and put that lid on this. Put this down to low. Cap it over. And we will be back. Okay, so our bread is ready for its forming. Now this is a step where if you are going to add the black sesame seeds to this, this is where you would add that, incorporate it in there, let it sit for 30 minutes, and then you would come to this step I'm doing now. I am bypassing that, going straight for just forming this bread. So I'm going to spray the inside of my pan, my bread pan, and I am going to try to roll this out without having to use a flour source. But if you do have to use a flour source, you can use vital wheat gluten for that. So now we're gonna get our dough and divide this in 3 pieces. Y'all, I don't know how this is going to work. We will find out. Like I said, I have not tried this. I'm kind of afraid to try it, but I've tried so many of them. I know I shouldn't be that way, but it gets rough after a while. And some of this keto-friendly stuff we're buying at the store is really getting on my nerves when it's not so friendly, and it will spike my husband's doggone sugar on him. I don't find that funny or even friendly, and these companies, I don't know how they can get away with it, but they do. But I'm not going to sit here and rant. So I'm actually going to smooth this out a bit. You can roll this thin. the one that Keto Search did that, she rolled it thin, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way. Roll these edges in here on each side, and I don't know if you can see this, but I folded it this way, and now I'm going to fold it this way, pat it down, turn it long ways like this, and I am actually going to roll this up all the way to the end and pinch off my edges, and then stick that inside of my bread pan, which you can't see very well. So we're going to stick this in our bread pan, and we're going to line these three together. They're going to fuse together and bake together. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these. Like I said, she rolled hers out. I'm going to see how it does just by doing what I'm doing right here. Still doing the same method she used. I'm just not going to the point of rolling it really thin and all that stuff. So we're going to fold it down like this. Fold the other side over like so. I'll roll it down that way. Turn it. Roll it this way. Trying to make this as even as possible. Pinch my edges, and again put that inside my pan, and then do that for the final. And then we're going to let this sit again for another hour to rise, and then we are going to bake this. Now she has it set, and my oven does not go that way, so here's an option you can do. I do have an air frying oven. She has it set for 340 degrees, or you can choose to do what I might do, but you'll have to wait and watch it sooner, because it takes anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes according to her directions at 340 degrees to bake. Or you can do it at 350 degrees and watch your bread at that point. And I would say test it at about 15-20 minutes. Go from there, because it may take a little less with that high of a temp. I think I am going to smooth these edges too. Make sure that everything is, yeah, I am. I'm going to take these edges like so. Make sure everything is evened out in here. Bring this back in. All right, now we're just going to go ahead and cover this and let this rise for another hour. And this is what you should have, y'all. These three placed in here, they will fuse together and they will bake together, and supposedly makes a loaf. We'll see how this goes. Let me get my hands washed off, and then we will pause this until our hour is up. And though I don't have, which I need to do that too, but I need to make a cover for this. But in the meantime, I'm just going to cover it with this one here. So, or you can use plastic wrap as well. That will work fine, or a tea towel that is dampened. So I'm going to let this sit, and we will be back. Since we have a few minutes, it's what I call my break time. And usually on my break time, I will take a few minutes to sit down, and it hurts sometimes. Then it gets to the point, do I really want to get up? And I know I have to. But, and it ain't that bad. I enjoy doing what I do. What I would like to know from you, I really thoroughly enjoy sitting and talking with you all, more than you can imagine. I love responding to you. Like I said, I consider you family and friends to me. And that's pretty amazing, because honestly, we've been together now almost 10 months. It doesn't seem that long, but it's been 10 months, y'all, since we started this channel. And so I'd like to get some feedback from you every once in a while. It's nice to know what, you know, I can hear from you. Now, I have been lately putting out quite a bit of videos for you. And the way I'm looking at it, when I'm in my kitchen, and because we are so different, because we are Mediterranean, because we are low carb, and yet still a homesteader, and we are quite different than the norm these days, I have been putting out more content, helping, having you in the kitchen with me, creating meals, and in hopes that this will help you enhance however lifestyle you're wanting to live. So let me know in the comments below how you like these videos, as far as, do you like the frequency, or would you like to see less of them? It helps me. And if you are liking the way the flow of things are going, I will just continue to keep doing what I'm doing. And because it doesn't bother me to do this. It's almost as if I do this every day anyways. To have you in the kitchen with me, it's just like having family, you know, with right beside me. So it doesn't bother me to do this. So let me know what's easier for you, what you all enjoy, and because there is so many more recipes I'm looking to try, and there's so many that actually we have missed. So I'm trying to make it respectful to you, so it would help me to understand what you would like. So if you don't mind, please leave that, you know, in the comments for me. And also help spread the word about this homestead. If you think that this homestead is really good and that it might benefit other families or whatever, please share it, like and subscribe to this channel. It would mean a lot to me. I'd like to see it grow to a point where newness becomes something that maybe someone didn't know was available to them, and maybe we can help them out as well, and be able to live somewhat normal life to the best of our ability, and not have to miss out on things as much. So I'm still waiting on the bread at this point, and we might just get this bread done either as hubby gets home this evening or just before, and it might be a little bit after. It all depends on what time he's getting off of work. So we will be back to finish off this bread and have our meal set up and finished, and I will show you at this point the next step. We will be back. Okay, y'all, our hour is up on our bread, and we're going to be using, I decided that I'm going to use the air frying oven because it will set for 340 degrees. I'm going to try this. So I'm going to set it at bake on the oven. I'm going to set my timer for 40 minutes. Again, I will be watching this because it's going to be between 40-45 minutes. I'm going to set this for 340 degrees, which this has been preheating for 10 minutes. It just now went off when I clicked the button. And this is our bread, risen within the hour. So now we're going to pop this in this oven, and we're going to see how this works. And hit start. Alright, in about 40 minutes, I'm going to keep checking this, and we will be back to see what the finished product looks like. Alright, y'all. This is the first time we're making this. I needed an 8x8 inch pan. I technically don't have that size, so this one was slightly bigger. I don't know what to say about this stuff yet. I'm not quite sure. I'll let it cool off. It just came out of the oven. The last 15 minutes of it, I actually turned around and put it up to 350 degrees. This took exactly 45 minutes. I will let you know once this cools down and we cut this rather small type of bread, what it's going to taste like. Now it looks a little darker than what the lighting you're seeing on the camera is, but I'm going to let this cool off. We'll cut into this and I will let you know what I think. Okay, we're going to slice into this. Now, it's cutting. Sorry about that, y'all. That is not me. That is Smokey the kitty cat. I apologize. We're going to cut. It's cutting like bread. And I may have to find a way to tweak this. Now, this is still slightly warm. I'm going to get a little bit of butter and spread on top of this too. But, yeah, it is still kind of warm. But let's see if I can get it to show you. I mean, I haven't tasted this yet, but it's breaking like bread. So, let's get some butter and see what it tastes like. Granted, it's too small for sandwich, and I may have to tweak this recipe, but first I want to see if it's worth the tweaking. If it's even going to taste like bread. Because I did go and order the special ingredients for this too, like the phylum husk. I had to order that on Amazon to make this. Basically all the bread stuff that I've been making lately that has been a disappointment. That's why I'm hoping to find, and one day when I do find it, y'all, you will definitely know about it. So I really had high hopes for this one. There still may be hope yet. I'm not giving up just yet, but I may have to figure out a different pan, that's for sure. So let's try this and we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Okay, I'm impressed. Actually, I'm quite impressed. It definitely tastes like bread. Wow. Okay, I'm really impressed here. Hang on, y'all. Okay, so this is the very closest I came to actually having a bread tasting low carb homemade bread. I am going to keep this recipe. Maybe I shouldn't have skipped that other 30 minutes. Maybe I should just get a smaller pan. Either way it goes, I'm going to tweak this recipe because it is definitely well worth it. I will put the link to her site on in the description box for all of you, so you can try this. But this is the very closest I ever came to making a bread the low carb way. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the last of our meal here, our Zuppa Tuscana, and this will be the end of tonight's meal preps that we did today. And let me get you switched around. So here is our Zuppa Tuscana soup that we had tonight. And honestly, this is our bread. So we will have this dipped in olive oil. Each slice is about 2.5 grams of carbs. This might actually be less than that because it is a small loaf, and actually it called for 12 slices. So mine got spread out a little more because it is a lot. It is a bigger pan. I'm going to say mine's about a 9-inch pan. So this may come out less than that. Either way it goes, it's still way less carbs than what we're going to get from regular bread. So I will set this up for you all, and I hope you enjoyed being in the kitchen with me this evening. Until next time, much love from Parton's Heritage Homestead.